Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Jonathan Alvarado over at Soil Connect, and we have some special guests with us today from Esposito Construction, Scott and Matt. So I'm going to let Scott and Matt introduce themselves, and we're going to talk a little bit about their business, how they've implemented software into their operations, and some of the local industry dynamics that have been changing due to COVID, the infrastructure bill, and what some of their future plans are for their business. So Scott, Matt, awesome to have you. How are you guys doing?
I'm good. How you doing today?
Hi, Jonathan. Thanks for having us. So I'm Scott VanSickle, Vice President of Esposito Construction. This is Matt McMahon.
I do all of our business development and sales here, and amongst a lot of other things since the beginning.
Well, we're glad to have you guys. Excited for you to share some more about the story of Esposito Construction, and you guys have really made a splash in the New Jersey market. So tell us a little bit about Esposito Construction, where you guys are, what you do, and then the origin story would be great. So the floor is yours.
Sure. But look, we're Central Jersey based. Our office is in Colts Neck, New Jersey. But for years we have been based out of the Old Bridge area. We've been in business for about 17 years now. We started off, much smaller than we are now, that's for sure. We started off, I'll give you the origin story real quick. We started off as a decking contractor, Jonathan. I don't know if, we might have told you this in the past, but, really what kind of happened for us, we used to go out and power wash decks. Then we go back a few days later and stain them. One of our guys spilled 5 gallons of decking stain on some lady's driveway. And, we went and got some sealer just to do the right thing by her, and sealed her driveway in about 20 minutes. And within a couple of week time frame, Matt Esposito bought a seal coating franchise. And, by the end of that summer, we were putting some blacktop in the back of pickup trucks. Within a couple of years, we were doing driveways as a paving contractor, maybe about 1,000 driveways every year, and sort of quickly became the biggest driveway contractor in New Jersey, that's for sure. And just sort of gradually one thing led to another. One developer, has a site contractor walk away from a job site and asked us, if we could put in leader drains for their development. And we had a backhoe. Next thing you know, we have almost 300 employees. So doing that stuff every single day. And now we're probably have almost 40 active job sites today across the state of New Jersey.
That's awesome. So what do you guys really specialize in? I know you do a lot, but what's the bread and butter?
Site work and paving. Large site work. We do a lot of large warehouse work, apartment development, as well as some hotels, assisted living facilities. We do some industrial. Work, but we do a lot of we have a lot of apartments being built in New Jersey, and a lot of warehouses right now, and so that's really what the market's given us right now. But looks like the national home builders are really making a strong push again here in New Jersey, and they're definitely starting to heat up the market with their work also.
And so, Matt, you started at the beginning of Esposito Construction with the Esposito brothers, right?
I did, man. Yeah.
And so, Scott, what's your background and how'd you meet the team?
So my background is actually in mechanical engineering and robotics. Kind of parlayed into this through the design build of some specialized rigging equipment for the power industry, and enjoyed construction so much that I figured I'd make a career out of it. Started with another site work contractor for about a decade, and then I've been here ever since. So 20 years later, here we are, working our way to the top of the New Jersey site work food chain. We feel like we have a pretty good hold on the market as far as what we offer, what we do. Like Matt said, everything from light industrial, heavy industrial, real estate, single, multifamily apartments, residential, commercial, and everything in between.
Awesome. So I know that you guys have implemented software and a handful of different tools that impact your operations, your trucking, the field, time management. As someone who's growing really fast, scaling quickly, lots of new people, new projects, there's no question it's a challenge to add anything new. It's kind of like working on the plane while you're flying it. So what's behind the decision to go ahead and implement software, implement new tools, even though you guys are doing enough work that it's hard to stop for a minute to think?
So in this industry, similar to most others, it's mostly about efficiency. Construction is nothing new conceptually. It's been going on for thousands of years, but what we try to intentionally do is build a better mousetrap. We're still doing the same construction that most other site work developers are doing, but we try to do it better and faster. One of the ways that we've done so is by moving away from a lot of the pen and paper strangleholds that typically this industry suffers from, which slows down the flow of information. And a lot of the decisions that we make is based on the information that we have available at the time. So everything from field reports through the implementation of apps and software and app-based software that we use for all of our field crews, all of our electronic cost reporting, and even through Soil Connect and the use of the e-ticks and ticket apps to manage, track, and bill from electronic copies of trucking tickets, which is a tremendously powerful tool for us because we don't have to wait till the end of the week to see how many loads any particular driver has sent or brought in. We get real-time updates, real-time information, and can make multiple decisions throughout the course of any given day.
So that's a nice segue into a question that I don't know if I've even asked this since we started working with you guys. But when you engaged with Soil Connect at the very beginning and you were looking for e-ticketing tools, what were the main problems you were looking for? And has that been successful? Have you been able to solve them or chip away at them since?
Yeah. So with any paperwork system, there's a chain of custody, and even typically with field reports for whether it be pipe crews, earthwork crews, whatever the case may be, there's no way to track productivity until you have the data in your hand. And when you're waiting till Friday afternoon to get everybody's handwritten information, then it does take some time to review and analyze that information. Similarly with our trucking operations, we weren't getting load tickets till the end of the week. When you have a stack of tickets riding around in a truck for 40 plus hours over the course of any given week, there's a high potential for tickets being damaged, lost, or otherwise vaporized. So for every one of those tickets that disappears and doesn't make it back to the office during those, dare I say, archaic times, we can't get paid for that. So the most direct route from load to tracking to billing is clearly an electronic solution. And that's what caused us to search out a solution to that frighteningly expensive problem and come to terms with Soil Connect. And it has been remarkably useful over the brief amount of time that we've implemented it and realized some serious cost savings, not only from a dollar standpoint, but also from a timing standpoint.
So one of the things I hear from everyone who's looking actively at some sort of electronic solution, especially around the paper side of things, it's all very, very much impacting the truck drivers, right? The truck drivers, they're the ones that are filling out the paper, the ones holding on to the paper, handing it off, getting signatures. And because they're that central point, I hear a lot of skepticism around the ability to implement something new. A lot of the guys who are driving a truck have been doing it the same way for a long time. And I think that there's this contractor perception that it's an insurmountable task to take your fleet and then move from paper to an app that digitizes the process. So was that true for you guys? What would the process look like of going from making a decision to actually having your drivers behaving differently and using the app?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, this was not the first software implementation that we had rolled out. Although when we did so, we certainly had those concerns and those fears, because we have drivers ranging from their early 20s to their late 60s. So some of which had the benefits of growing up with tablets in their hands, and wouldn't recognize a tablet if it fell in their lap. Everybody and their brother has a smartphone, so they've been to come to terms with the digital age, and the intentional simplicity of the app made it very easy to roll out to even the most, dare I say, old school of our drivers. They're the guys that don't want to use a cell phone, have no interest in GPS, still like using paper maps. But just because they use those doesn't mean it doesn't work. There's just a better way to do things. And after seeing how easy it was to enter the information, rather than constantly being shouted at on a Monday when we realized that they didn't turn in all their tickets the previous Friday, or to carry around those, or even at the end of a long week having to bring those tickets back to a centralized location. Those things are a thing of the past anymore, right? So there is no more, Friday afternoon, everybody having a mass exodus down to the office to turn in the tickets that they hope they have all of them for the week. The training process was also extremely swift, right? Because again, the couple few fields, the data entry fields, are very intuitive. So it's not like they need to know how to type properly using a QWERTY key. Voice to text works great for everything, and it's drop-down menus. So there really isn't a wrong answer when you're selecting from types of materials like that. So it's been designed around the simplest of users.
That's encouraging to hear. I think that making the functionality of an app simple is one of the hardest things to do, even though it's the most simple. The more you want to get out of something, the more you can tend to overbuild. And I'm glad to hear we hit the mark to make it so that a driver can do very little, but you can still get all the value you want of going digital. So, Matt, I have a question for you. So
I was going to tell you real quick, just to add to
yeah,
that.
fire away.
You can't discount the fact that the drivers are pretty proficient with smartphones. You know what I'm saying? Like, in that little bit of downtime that you get waiting for loads, like, our guys are on, looking for Black Friday deals, but also, really going through their maps and looking for the best route to get to wherever they're going. Like, I think they're more proficient at it than what people would probably give them credit for, right? I don't think it's not a technology that is foreign to them, so there is a level of just comfortableness that they have with it already. And I don't think, the app-based version, is pretty user-friendly, so I give them a little more, I give them a little bit more credit, I think, I think they use those smartphones pretty well, man.
They do, and surprisingly enough, it was some of the younger staff that were more intimidated by it than you would expect. But again, it's the amount of information going into it is the quality of the intel you'll get on the back end. So, like you pointed out, overcomplicating an unnecessarily simple scenario would have yielded some pretty poor results. But I mean, in the most basic sense, there's only 5 real pieces of information that need to come from any trucking ticket, and keeping it as basic and simple as necessary, because putting in all that unnecessary information also takes time, right? So one of the big selling points when we rolled it out was, you know, it takes 2 minutes to enter one of these tickets. How long does it take you to drive to the yard?
That's right.
So,
Awesome. So Matt, I do have a question for you. So since COVID impacted work, changed the way that people look at what's essential business and not essential business, construction continued to move forward as essential. A lot was accomplished, but it definitely changed a lot of the landscape of residential and commercial work, publicly funded work. How has COVID impacted Esposito construction, and what's the near future looking like when it comes to just the local New Jersey market and how work is coming your way?
COVID was, I mean, whoever in a million years could have predicted, a spike in construction due to a pandemic, right? But in New Jersey specifically, there was really just this perfect storm of, we were already really busy, doing, large apartment development. And, there was some litigation that held up a lot of the apartment development in New Jersey that had really just been settled a couple of years ago. And so you really had apartment development stalled out for almost 20 years in New Jersey. And so you had this catch-up game of really starting to get back on track to a normal development cycle for all of the apartments. At the same time, shopping was changing, and how we, how consumers purchase things was just really changing. And so we were seeing a lot of this big warehouse development, going into COVID. And so really what kind of happened for us, and then, you take into like this mass exodus, out of these urban areas, New York and Philadelphia, and New Jersey was sitting in this really unique spot. And I don't know how unique it really is. I mean, I think it was fairly common for a lot of different, states and markets. But you really had this perfect storm of things, of conditions coming together. The future is only going to get brighter for Esposito construction. As we go forward, we are always looking to, add different pieces, to the company that will just enhance or, modify something that we already do, or really complement something that we already do,
Question, just to bring it back to how software is impacting construction, and the question's for you, Scott. So you've played a lead role in implementing, evaluating, and executing new software into the business. So there'll be contractors, trucking companies, and different individuals who are watching this and looking at your use case, thinking about the case study of how you guys have implemented software. If you were going to give one piece of advice on how to successfully implement new software, if that's having a specific internal champion, communication, when during the season you're implementing, is there anything specific that you would say, here's what we've found as a key learning that can be a make or break part of or aspect of implementing software?
beta testing and guinea pigging products before you roll them out to your general population is tremendously important. I can't tell you how many software implementations we've that have died on the vine here, that we've only rolled out a portion of them because we weren't wholly confident that they were beneficial to the intended application. We run everything from GPS machine control to field tracking and truck ticket tracking. The ones that we're actually using as we have this this conversation today are certainly not the first or only ones that we've tried. These are the best ones that we chose to move forward with. So not every software solution is best and brightest right out of the box, but you can't be afraid to try something before you sell it to your own people.
Awesome. So It was great speaking with you both. I appreciate you putting the time aside. Obviously, Soil Connect is excited to be a small part of the Esposito construction story and continue working with you guys and innovating software together. And I'll be talking with you again soon.
You got it,
Sounds
man.
good.
Good talking
Thanks
to you.
for everything. Have a good one.
See you.
See you guys.